Thank you so much. My name is Graf. I'm really, really happy to be here at NFT.NYC, coming from Europe. I'm Director NFT for Misa.art and König Gallery, so we are based in Germany, Berlin. Cool city, but it's great to be in the United States too. And I'm so happy to be here on stage with Luke Bean and Scott Gralnick, and please introduce yourself too.
Hi, I'm Scott Gralnick. I'm the founder of Lago Frame. Prior to Lago Frame, I co-founded a company called Portis back end of 2017, early 2018. Portis was a standard Web3 provider in the ecosystem, which ended up powering over 500 plus companies in the Web3 space, from Uniswap, SushiSwap, Yearn Finance, MakerDAO, Augur, Alchemy, Gitcoin, Yearn Finance, OpenSea, Rarible, and many others. Fast forward to 2020, we were acquired by Shapeshift, one of the OG's exchanges that's been around since 2014. And during that acquisition, my friends who are artists, curators, collectors, like, listen, Scott, you've been natively supporting NFTs since 2018 in your wallet visually. You guys were, using easy on-ramping. You get user experience cross-chain. There's got to be a better way to enjoy minted works of art and NFTs. I was like, that's a great question. Let me look into it. And from friends from galleries and auction houses, we kept hearing over and over again, I get NFTs, but how do we enjoy it? And from that, we saw that there was no real solutions that existed that were native to on-chain technology that would enable a beautiful frame, easy tool for syncing your wallet to authenticate and create galleries to a frame. And so we created Lago, and we could get into Lago a little bit, but that's a little background.
Yeah, we talk about this later. And Luke.
Hi, I'm Lucas, former head of global marketing for Atari, former head of divisional marketing for Sony Pictures, and now I run a company called Render Labs, which basically onboards Fortune 1000 companies into the metaverse, into NFT collections, do a lot of consulting and advising in there.
Thank you so much. So our topic is democratizing the art world through NFTs. First, a question to the audience. Who of you considers themselves an art collector? Please raise your hand. Wow, okay. Cool, that's a lot. Normally I also ask the question, who owns NFTs, but I think that should be most of you, so I'm not asking this one. Yeah, the question always is, the art world, it is a very exclusive space. Since I'm also working for a gallery, I know that the collectors, they're very exclusive. The accessibility to art has always been hard. Even if you had enough money, you would maybe not get the artwork because you had to belong to a certain family, party, whatever, to even have access to it. And for me, it started why don't we connect these two worlds? The new space that is really decentralized, that offers every artist to sell their artwork on the blockchain, and also see what the traditional art space delivers to learn from that. So I want to hear from you. Scott, for the frames. You already said okay, this is the way to deliver it, to make it more obvious. And which hurdles were there for digital artists especially to enter the art world and to be seen?
Well, I don't really think there was any boundaries for artists to get into this space. I think it was about the general public for awareness for them to be discovered. I feel that there was a lot of resources, and still are, for anyone who wants to learn how to create minted works of art to get into the space. I think it's more so the technology on the adoption side for galleries and for collectors to be able to enjoy those minted works of art. And so, at Lago specifically, we saw there was 3 core problems in this ecosystem. One was an easy way to access those minted works of art. Second was a whole curation, because with all the different gallery or marketplaces that existed, how do you cut through the noise for a new user coming into the space to be able to trust, a specific said project or new art? And so what we did specifically was create a curated experience built into the frame itself that you could work with trusted people in the ecosystem. And then third, the whole authenticity and provenance. So we wanted to make sure that whatever you're showing on frame, that you could authenticate from the metadata from Etherscan or other access points. And so we actually pull that metadata and show an authentic certificate of ownership and also the historical provenance for that piece of work. But then going for the creators themselves, how do you create natively for the space, for the collectors, especially like generative art? And so we wanted to go beyond just a display system and sort of push those boundaries as a canvas for creators to create upon. So we wanted to create a camera system that enabled gesture control so that an artist can actually, if you think about art blocks, right, you have all those clickable experiences. Well, now in person, you could actually do hand gesture control or create an unlockable experience or have a piece of artwork follow you from frame to frame to frame, enabling a Web3 artist to sort of push those boundaries of how you engage with Web3 in a real-world situation.
Thank you so much. And Luke, for you from the collector side, do you see that NFTs have really helped democratize the art world, or do you see that there are new gatekeepers coming up?
So the way I see it is, I think the art world's a lot like the venture capital world, where there's not a lot of retail investors can actually enter the space. That's how the art world is. It's very cost prohibitive. So in this case, NFTs allows people to have actually access to NFTs on a retail level. So if someone wants to create hundreds of prints, a successful artist can do this and then allow people to buy them as NFTs, the same way as venture capital, where you get into crypto and finally cryptocurrencies allow retail investors to get into investing without being an accredited investor. That needs about $250,000 in net worth to even enter the space. So that's how I see NFTs actually democratizing the art world, because it's a very clicky group, and this actually allows this hundreds of millions of people to actually view the art, purchase the art, rather than just a few select aristocracy kind of type people in, let's just say, our population. So I actually think it's the exact same thing as venture capital, like I said, where only angel investors or accredited investors are allowed. In this case, NFTs breaks down that barrier and allows retail investors to actually invest in wonderful art.
Thank you so much. What we see in the art space is that the accessibility for NFTs is still a problem for traditional collectors. So talking about technical solutions, what we are doing is we started with a Shopify shop where you can buy NFTs, also through credit card. In Europe, we also use a lot of PayPal, Apple Pay, etc., and also crypto, so that you have the option to decide how you buy your NFT. You don't need a wallet in the beginning. You can buy it. It will be stored on your account, and then you can transfer it to your wallet and mint it whenever you want. We see that this has helped a lot of people to access the NFT market coming from the traditional art world. Are there more hurdles or challenges that we see where technical solutions should be coming in the future? Maybe Luke, you want to answer first?
I think the access to NFTs is actually, crypto is kind of a problem. I think using like fiat money to buy NFTs is really the barrier that actually prevents people from entering the space. First, they have to learn cryptocurrency, and people are like, oh, what's this? Now I have to download a wallet. Now I have to do all these things. There's so many barriers to entry. It's like every time, if you're familiar with user experiences, like if you create user experiences that actually take many steps to get through, you're going to lose like 99% of those people, if not 100% of those people. So if we break down those barriers of like types of funds you can use, so if someone in the audience right here, like Nick, actually has a credit card, he can actually buy an NFT with fiat money or whatever currency what his country's using. And I think that's really the barrier to entry for people getting into NFTs, getting into cryptocurrencies in general, really into NFTs. That's my opinion.
Thank you so much, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And this is something we faced at Portis in 2018 when we tried to do a fiat on-ramp with a credit card to crypto and a credit card to NFTs. And I remember, I think it was 2019 ETH Denver, we were powering their swag store where you could actually purchase any of the swag with a credit card. And we were converting it on the back end, doing all the swapping. But all you knew is you were buying this with a credit card, but you also were able to redeem an NFT directly into your wallet. But I agree, and that's why MasterCard and MoonPay and a lot of other great companies in this ecosystem are really trying to pioneer that onboarding, fiat on-ramping experience. It's a huge challenge. I think there's a couple different big sectors in the space from like gaming and enterprise that are going to drive a ton of adoption. I think the art world is also one of those, but there is a duality in the art world, right? You do have a split. You have the auction houses like Phillips that are involved. You have Christie's that are involved. You have Pace Gallery that are involved, and you can see them figuring out and trying to explore how do they utilize Web3 and bridge that barrier between the two. But then you have like the Gagosians of the world that are still very hands-off, that don't really believe in this necessarily, or maybe they don't want to. And I think there'll be quite some time before it's truly Web3. I think we're still in between that like 2.5 that people say. As much as we want to believe that infrastructure is there, we're a long way from it. And this is a fantastic time opportunity, even though we're in a down market where you're going to see a lot of companies come out of this building amazing infrastructure, coming out with fantastic products that it'll be another wave of new users on board into this ecosystem.
I also think that your frame will help. It makes it real, right? So the more we can actually make something real in NFTs where people are like, it's just a JPEG. If you're putting it on a screen, like it makes it real. So
thank you.
You're doing the Lord's work.
And I think this is what I came up with first, this connection between the physical and the virtual world. Vice versa, by the way, because many people in the traditional art space, I had the feeling they felt like, oh my God, these NFTs, they're endangering our world. But I see it more as an addition and really bringing new things also into a space that was hidden to most of the people a long time. And I see that a lot of young people are coming to our galleries now, and they're always super excited to see NFTs because it is also, like, from aesthetic-wise, I think it really appeals to the younger generation as well. So, and there your frames come in again. And this is a thing we were talking about before, the size. We have so many frames being in 16:9, and this is not natural size for artists to produce. So, yeah, a great solution on that point.
Thank you. So I just wanted to add to that of different groups and diverse individuals coming to the space. We just came back from France, and we were working with the Picasso family. So Marina Picasso, Pablo's daughter, and they're utilizing NFTs in a really unique way. One, they wanted to bring awareness to nurses, that right now there's a huge downturn of nurses, and without nurses, that's a big problem throughout the world in specific places. And so they actually created this whole Nurse Heroes NFT sector, and they did a huge auction and raised a ton of capital to help nurses out. But to see the Picasso family, at Pablo's estate with, digital frames or NFT frames throughout, their yard in this beautiful garden, and people are walking through, and this is like the traditional old world, well, not old world, but still has influence in traditional art world. Getting involved and talking praises about this and figuring out how they can help bring in more people into the space. That was really exciting for us.
And that is so interesting because I see that with our collectors. From the moment that a so-called traditional artist starts doing the Genesis piece, people are interested because they're interested in the art. And I have seen this in the latest Art and Tech report. People who collect digital art on NFTs, they don't even care that much about utility all the time. They really care about, this is my piece, this is my artist, and I love the artwork. So this is interesting also in the bear market because it comes back to what I always tell people, buy what you love. Don't look at the value first. It will give you value when you love it. And you can always have it in your home, in your garden, wherever you want to have it. And you can display it, show it, and have a good feeling about it. And I think this is what everyone should have. And this is why the democratization of the art world is so important, and also making it accessible to more artists. Because we haven't talked about this really, but there are so many traditional artists who don't really know how to do it. And I think we come back to this topic of education, because there's no democratization without education. And Luke, I think you're doing this a lot on Twitter Spaces. You are talking to everyone, explaining everything. How long have you been doing this now?
I think it's been like a year and like 8 months. 4,000 hours on Twitter Spaces. I've onboarded more than 10,000 people in the NFT space. Traditional artists make up about 25% of that. So it's interesting, but it's also giving like this. I mean, I love traditional artists. I mean, this is what this panel is about. But at the end of the day, it's like how do we actually also bring in all these digital artists that could not actually monetize their art before? Like, that's the real interesting piece to this, to me at least, is bringing in digital artists that then we can close the value gap with Web3 tools using Web 2 as distribution. Like, that's the real answer, is how do I get my art to the masses? And that's what NFTs do. It could take a traditional artist who shows in a gallery of 150 to 200 people on a regular basis. Let's just say once a month or twice a month. Now, if you actually use NFTs, you close the value gap of like charging the same amount for this art, then using Web 2 tools such as Twitter or Instagram to like, for basically next to nothing, distribution-wise, you'll get it in front of like millions, if not hundreds of millions of people. So someone that actually used to take photographs and put it on Shutterstock, they would take a photograph, stick it online, and maybe over the course of 3 to 5 years, make $3 grand off of it. Now you can sell that same piece as an NFT and continue to collect royalties on it, but close the value gap to, instead of 3 to 5 years, 30 days or 24 hours or 7 days, and all of a sudden they made all their money through Ethereum at that value that would usually take 3 to 5 years. So I think that's critical.
I agree with you. I mean, that's incredible. But at the same time, you have all these, artists, photographers that have been trying to get in the space and doing this, and they just don't have the marketing power behind them. They don't know how to do that. And a lot of these early people that you want to consider like the angel investors or the VCs comparable to, they have their community from early on, and they utilize their community and get involved in the community, so they have that natural base. It is hard. Don't get me wrong. I mean, this is a fantastic technology for people to democratize and get their art out there, but it's just another tool. It's just another technology to enable them to have direct access to their community, their buyers, their collectors. It doesn't make it easier.
The marketplaces are still so important, also curated marketplaces, because we see that there's not only demand from the collector side, who really need to know, okay, what has value, what has no value, and the narrative behind the artworks, but also from the artist side, like they want to see their artworks presented and exhibited, not only in galleries, but also in museums. And that will be my next question. How are museums entering this whole world at the moment? For all these Art Basel, for example, that was last week, we saw that Tezos had a collaboration. So where do you see the future of these collaborations?
I actually know, my friend also owns a frame company. No disrespect. And he has actually, the Louvre actually purchased some of his frames, and they were able to display all this art in the Louvre as NFTs. So the traditional artists actually could just go, and all of a sudden all the art is displayed, and then as soon as the show is over, all down. You can actually do this from 10,000 miles away too. Never be doxxed. You could be literally Banksy and just be like 10,000 miles away in Dubai and just go up on the screens, display it for 4 to 6 hours, done. So imagine the distribution power of frames. You could actually have them, you could actually do this around the world at maybe 20 to 30 different museums and literally put on a show all at the same time, just by doing this onto a frame. And all of a sudden, all around the world in every country, they see this display and then they turn it off at the same time as well. Amazing ability to reach and create new distribution channels for artists that normally wouldn't have that.
Yeah, so we're in the process of building out an artist fund where we give out 100 grants per year. And specifically, in Lago, we have this whole curation channel built in. So we work with other galleries and auction houses where you'll actually be able to subscribe as an individual to those curations to have directly onto your frame. And that works vice versa with different galleries for artists to be able to show their work on the frame as well. But you'll know if it's authenticated by that individual artist or by the gallery or whomever. And yeah, it's a huge distribution tool for this ecosystem, 100%.
What would you like to be exhibitions like in the future of 1 or 2 years? Because I'm always being asked about the carbon footprint, but I see that NFTs can even help, just like you said, make it a lot more easier. Don't have to transport all the artworks. When you have a token with a certain artwork, you could maybe also think about just printing them where they are. This raises other questions, but what would be your idea of a perfect exhibition in about 1 year? What would it look like? What would you want to see?
I mean, a perfect exhibition is just people that come and enjoy and get value out of the exhibition. I don't think there's going to be, only digital or only physical pieces of work. I think there's always going to be a duality, and I think there's ways to incorporate both. I think you'll see artists, I think, who was it? Thank You X, that came out with a piece that took a physical screen and built it into his actual physical artwork. And I've talked with other artists that have, been doing physical sculptures and big pieces of work that want to embed frames into it. I don't know. I think the perfect exhibition is just a duality of the old and the new and how they represent some type of, present moment, and people enjoy it.
Cool. And you, Luke?
I think bringing a single piece, just so you can tie real-world assets to digital assets, would be a really cool feature of shows in the future, so that people actually go, oh, this is the real. It's almost like in real life provenance, where it's like, oh, there's a piece, and there's the rest of his art that he just launched. So it definitely cuts down on travel. It definitely cuts down on, obviously, like any kind of like delivery service for this art, and then you don't have to worry about breakage as well. Like at the end of the day, a lot of stuff gets damaged and moves, and we don't want to damage any more of this precious artwork that we barely have any of anyway. So yeah, I think it's critical that NFTs actually save us from that.
Cool. So we have 1.5 minutes left. I think we have seen that there are so many opportunities still to come, that the market is opening more and more. I think we still only have, like the last number I heard, around 1 million wallets that own an NFT, or 1.5 million. It's not that much, and we still see that it is a niche. We're talking at the beginning about this one thing. Is there one thing that would make it really accessible? And now it's kind of your last words. What would you really see as a wish for yourself for the future in the art world? Is there anything specific, Scott?
I'll let you go first, Lucas.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's no. I
answer this. I would like to see the community that comes from the NFT space that we see here in New York. It is so amazing. I want this always to be at every exhibition, to be really like a great experience. And I think this is what NFTs are about. This is what art is about. And this is why everyone should be able to participate, to have access. And this is why we want to democratize the art world, also at misa.art. And I think the same thing goes for you. And yeah.
I mean, I'm excited to see how the artists utilize the new technology coming out to push those boundaries for their creations and how it engages with their buyers.
Luke, one last word.
Thanks for listening to us, guys.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. See you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you.